Making $10,000 a month puts you into the top 1.5% of earners in the United States. The problem, however, is that many think that achieving this mark is a lot more difficult than it actually is. However, it is my belief that absolutely everybody can hit the $10,000 a month mark, but many don't because they're lacking the proper framework that is going to help them solve the equation for how they can get there. And this was me for the longest time. I started working at the Gap from the age of 15, making only $10.75 an hour. And when I was folding those pants all day long, wanting to shoot myself, I was constantly thinking, how can I make more money? If I could make $10,000 a month, my life would be completely changed forever. And unfortunately, it took me a really long time to get there with a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. But I think that you could actually get there much faster than I did. In hindsight, there was a much better approach than the one that I took, and this is the exact video that I wish I had watched when I was just 15, making $10.75 an hour and dreaming of making more money. To start off though, the most important framework that I wish I had known is that money is simply a proxy for the amount of value that we provide others. So as we move through this video, the most fundamental and important framework for you to keep in mind is that if you want to make more money, you simply have to provide more value. But with that in mind, let's get into the video. The first step towards making $10,000 a month is first determining exactly what path you are going to take. Are you going to work for somebody else, or are you going to be a lone wolf and start your own business? It's important from the beginning to determine what path you're going to take, because then you can determine what the second step is. And I think it's totally achievable to make 10K a month with either of these approaches. However, the skill set and approach varies quite a bit depending on which one you decide to do. So let's first look at how we can get to the 10K a month mark by working for somebody else. First off, if you want to work for somebody else, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And there are a ton of benefits such as job security. You get the opportunity to learn from somebody else on their dime. And depending on the company that you work for, down the road, it could be a fantastic thing to have on your resume. But you need to understand that you need to make some adjustments from the typical path that people take if you're going to make $10,000 a month working for somebody else. That getting a 9-to-5 right out of college, you're not going to make $100,000 a year if you just got a regular degree, especially if you got a degree in gender studies, but I hope you're not doing that. The average salary right out of college in the United States is only $55,000 a year. And for us, that means that if we want to make 10K a month, we can't just take the typical approach of going to school and getting a job. We must do things differently. But fortunately, there's actually something super specific that you can do to differentiate yourself from the rest of the competition. Because we now understand that money is just a proxy for the amount of value that we provide, the next question is, what kind of value can we provide? For me, the best kind of value that I like to provide is making more money for other people. Because the truth is, a company will not mind paying you $10,000 a month if you can help them generate an extra $20,000 a month in revenue. It's going to be a totally easy sell because businesses and individuals are going to be able to justify it that much more easily. So how do we do that? One way is to niche down and become a master of a specific skill. You do not want to be a jack of all trades to these companies because there's a million jacks out there. You want to master something very specific. That specific skill could be paid marketing, it could be copywriting, social media, graphic design, whatever it is, you need to pick a skill and become an absolute master of it. In order to become a master, there are two different ways that you can do it, and both of them will require you to spend something. Approach one is spending your time, and approach two is spending your money. You're going to need to learn this skill, and you can learn it online for free, but that will require time. If you want to become a master in copywriting, for example, there are tons of really valuable copywriting courses out there, and yes, they will cost you money, but you will save a lot of time rather than trying to put together a whole bunch of different resources. Many of you watching will already have some kind of skill that you could double down on and develop even further. But for those of you that don't, here is a super helpful exercise that you can use to figure out what kind of skill and niche you should pursue. You are likely, or at least I hope, working a job right now, and therefore you know likely what is working and what is not working at that job. Ask yourself, what could the business that you work for do to optimize itself? They're likely leaving money on the table. Do they have poor customer service? Is their marketing poor? Are their operations terrible? Do you hate your boss because they are so all over the place? Many businesses businesses are like that, and as a result, they are leaving money on the table. So the question is, what problem could you solve for that business? I'm sure there are many answers that come up, but you want to find a problem that can be solved not just for that business, but a problem that applies to many. So if I take myself, for example, I used to be a manager at a coffee shop. It was a great job, but it was not optimized by any means. For example, the boss was a little bit all over the place. If they woke up one morning and wanted to implement one idea, they would, and then they could scratch it. So for example, the menu was not optimized at all, as well as marketing, which I think could have been done much better. So these are three problems that are a little bit diverse, but they are leaving money on the table, and that business could have squeezed out more money by doing these things better. So if I take this specific example, let's say I wanted to pursue marketing, but I wanted to optimize their marketing. I would then have gone to YouTube and I would have watched every video on marketing. I would have taken courses and I would have become an absolute master and the go-to guy for marketing. I then could have implemented that into the actual business that I was working at, the coffee shop, and I'm sure my boss would have paid me for it. But I could then have taken that knowledge and gone to multiple other businesses and said, hey, I think you should hire me and you should pay me $10,000 a month because I'm going to be able to 2x your revenue or whatever it is. I'm going to help you make an extra $25,000 a month because I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And the current problems that you have are A, B, and C, and I will solve those as well. I couldn't go to any business and just say, hey, I'm a jack of all trades. You should pay me X amount. There are so many people out of university and college that feel entitled to making 6 figures a year, but they have no actual value to provide these companies. And that is why you need to take education into your own hands so that you can provide this value, this specific value to companies. So we know that we want to develop a niche skill that can be applied to multiple businesses. But the question is, what kind of business do we want to work for? Ideally, I think it would be great to work for a young, fast-growing company that is a startup for a couple of reasons. There are a lot of benefits because you will A, learn more, B, you can probably grow within the company and potentially get stock options, and if they have an exit, that could pay off massively, and it will likely be great to have on your resume. The thing about working for a startup though is they often cut out a lot of the corporate bullshit, which means that they don't care so much what your resume is, they care more about what you can actually do for them, which is why you need to go with them with your exact skill and tell them that you are a master at doing X. I understand that in the category of working for somebody else, I threw a lot at you, but that is for a reason. I couldn't simply tell you, go do this type of business because I don't know what your skill set is, I don't know where you live, and I don't know what your situation is. If somebody asked me, hey, how can I become rich? I would just say, go play in the NHL or the NBA. But if you're not 7 feet tall, that is absolutely terrible advice. And so every situation is different. But the framework of niching down into a skill and solving a problem for a business that will lead to them increasing their bottom line applies across the board. And if you do this, you will be able to make $10,000 a month working for somebody else. But if you want to make your own schedule, if you want to be your own boss and take your destiny into your own hands, what is the best approach to take if you want to work for yourself and start your own business? Working for yourself is fantastic because you get to make your own schedule, you are in control of everything, but take it from somebody that has started multiple businesses, many of which have failed. It is not easy. My first business was selling beard products that I made in my own kitchen. I shipped them around the world and it was a pretty wild experience, but I didn't really sell more than $10,000 in total. So eventually I shut that down. I then pursued multiple different drop shipping opportunities, which I'm sure many of you watching have as well. If you've tried to make any money online, pretty much it's a rite of passage to try dropshipping. After that, at one point I tried to start up a residential cleaning company with one of my friends, and that didn't really go anywhere. In between all of those, there were a few other things that I pursued as well. The truth is, almost all of these businesses were a failure in one way or another, but I did learn a lot. What I learned is that the problem that most people have is that they try and reinvent the wheel. They try and become the next Elon Musk and figure out how to get somebody on Mars. And this mindset actually does a lot more harm than good. This was the mindset that I had for a long time, especially when I was in high school, wanting to start my own business and do something on the side, but it got me absolutely nowhere because I might come up with an idea, but I would have no idea as to how to execute it. You see, after failing multiple businesses and eventually getting to the $10,000 a month mark that I am at now, I've come to realize that there is actually indeed a magical framework when it comes to businesses and determining what business you should actually pursue. So I'm going to give you this magical framework for free, and it is going to help you come up with more business ideas than you will know what to do with. So here it is. To come up with a great business idea, all you have to do is find a business that is already profitable that you can simply do better. Go out there, execute on that improvement, and you will literally make money. It doesn't matter if it is better marketing, better sales, better operations. Because that business is already profitable, the market research has already been done, it's already been tested, and you know that if you improve on these things that this company is lacking on, this business is lacking on, and do it better, you will be able to gain market share as a result. I started a cleaning company because so many of these companies are run by boomers that only use pen and paper and don't even use a laptop. So I started the company using SaaS software that really optimized things, and I still to this day think that you can make a lot of money with a residential cleaning company. The reason I stopped, however, was just because the hiring process was not something that I wanted to pursue long term, so I pivoted to something else. Take Lark Funding, for example, a funding company that I started last year. We did not reinvent the wheel. However, we have the best customer service in the industry. I will literally answer customer emails at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and no other company is doing that. And as a result, we are growing and we are gaining market share. My best friend dropped out of school and started a landscaping company. He did a bunch of things better than the competitors out there. His sales game is way better, operations, he's way more organized than all of the other guys. And as a result, he grew the company to over $1 million in sales in just a couple of years. I know another guy that also dropped out of school and he niched down to paid marketing for painters, and he is paying himself hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. None of these guys are trying to land a rocket on Mars. Find a business that is already profitable, go out and do it better, and you will literally start making money. Growing wealth isn't just about getting to the 10K a month mark, however, and there are other frameworks that you'll want to keep in mind that will keep you out of trouble. That is why you want to watch this video here on how I saved $100,000 at the age of 23. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Play the long game, and until then, peace.